I gotta be real with you. Armenia is the epitome of consumerism in South Caucasus. Just take a look at the amount of malls Yerevan has. I mean, kinda globalism at this point. But what if I told you that those very malls in Yerevan were once factories producing some crazy shit? Like from computers to fridges to cars, it was the real deal in all of Caucasus. Regardless, we're gonna go for all the malls around Yerevan and we're gonna rate those malls like we did with metro stations. With me forgetting Bahramyan by accident, which I agree, it's kind of like an accidental comedic geniusness. And you know, I always miss this station too, so I guess, yeah, this deserves something too, you know? I will mention Bahramyan this time, I promise. Probably in a short. But regardless, go watch it, it's a banger video, you know, support the channel, be part of the Akhberusyun, let's say. And let's continue. Let's do a little bit of a deep dive here too, because, you know, most of the malls are factories in Armenia. Like, in fact, Armenia was one of the massive industrial zones in the Caucasus. Yerevan specifically. Now, I don't mean that the USSR was good and all, but, you know, Armenia was one of the least affected by, you know, starvation and I mean, industry-wise, though, we were actually quite decent. I mean, check it out. We had a car industry, we had computers, and most importantly, we had lemonade stands. Well, one of those lemonade stands still exists in Yerevan. It's somewhere around, like, Kayaran, Chhasats. Like, you almost reach Kayaran, it's, like, somewhere in the road, like, embedded inside a building, which, you know, I couldn't find the location of it online, but I promise it's there. Just trust me on this one, you know. I always used to go there with my friend and order 100 dirham worth of lemonade. В общем, back to the malls. This also explains why some of our malls are weird by design, with only some being relevant. I swear there were the malls that I felt like I'm visiting one of the most boring places in the world. But all in all, I can say this. I also visited some malls in America too, and they are kinda mid. Armenian malls are actually a lot better. I mean, you can see this for yourself. And definitely not because I'm Armenian and I'm saying that everything Armenian is better. But this one, unironically, is quite decent. So, some have a concoction of Russian brands mixed with American or Western brands, and some have banger food courts and a cinema. Literally, whenever there's a big movie, we would go to a mall to watch this, not a theater itself, because the theater was part of the mall. Get it? Anyway, so as I don't hurt your head, let's go with some malls, shall we? Shout out to Spur, by the way, for making my job easier with the list of malls right here. Dalma Garden Mall, S tier. The entire building speaks for itself, but I gotta say this. What the hell did you do to your logo, man? Like, I'm a designer and this is hurting me. Bring back that tree, like, will ya? This mall stands strong because this never replaced the factory. In fact, this was built on a historical place, the Dalma Gardens, which were the OG Yerevan vineyards. And fun fact, there were tunnels there that led to the infamous Yerevan fortress, which was destroyed by Lenin for being too imperial. Stay tuned for the Yerevan video too, because I'm actually doing some extensive research on Yerevan and I want to make this one banger video about it, because let's face it, Yerevan is the capital of the world. Not New York, not Paris, not anywhere else. Yerevan. What also makes Dalma Mall such a based area as it is the fact that it's also a default Lervesnel area that is part of Kentron but not so much as a part of Kentron. Also, I gotta add this. Who on earth would translate the movie Bad Boys into Vat Tgha in Armenian? Like, it single-handedly cock-matched the entire movie by itself. Now, I don't blame him either. I think that there must have been a better option though, right? Since we're in Kentron, let's go to Pak Shuka, another OG mall. Although, I gotta say that the new name kinda sounds like you know, Prospect Mall is like, you know, a generic title for a mall. But Pak Shuka itself is a goated area. Originally, it was designed to be a bazaar or a shopping center during the Soviet times, and now it's a mall. It's also S tier in a way. Why though? Because it feels like a natural upgrade from a shopping center to a mall. I remember I used to walk there with the boys, you know, from Hamalit to Pak Shuka on foot without being tired. One would think, you know, that this is impossible in the best possible way. But I came home with the same route too. You know, Yerevan is pretty walkable. Shout out to Tamanyan, bro. The next mall we have in our list is Yerevan Mall, and I gotta say this is basically A tier. It's another cool mall, yeah, but it replaced the factory. That's why it's an A tier, not an S tier. It has a banger playground and a banger food court too, which sometimes makes me, you know, question why I put this as an A tier and not an S tier. So I guess both in a way, if, you know, that makes sense. I remember back in the day when I actually had a job in Yerevan, I would go there during my lunchtime, as the mall itself is right next to the Khartoum civilizational spawn point, Yerort Mas. I mean, if you're new to the channel, it's one of the biggest Khartoum spawn points. And who's a Khartoum, you might ask? I assume you know it by now. And if you don't, I'll just say this, Armenian gopniks. But if you're interested about who Khartoums are in a more deeper sense, I'll leave a video about this in the description too. As I was digging Reddit and also asking, my friends who are in Yerevan, they basically tell me that there was this one Urartian temple in the vicinity of Yerevan Mall that was discovered during construction, which is kind of cool, There are Urartu artifacts and temples around here. I think it's pretty cool. And ironically, the mall that carries the most ancient name of Yerevan, which is basically Erebuni, is irrelevant as fuck. Like, no hate on those living in Erebuni district, it's actually a pretty good district, but there is nothing much in the mall apart from lervatsnel and drinking Duet coffee. Now I'll leave this at C tier, not a full D or F, because it has Duet. Speaking of Duet coffee, there's this one funny story that whenever I started making memes about Duet coffee on Instagram, Duet prices went up. Like seriously, they should elevate Duet further and not change designs. Like, come on, what is this? Also about the price, I think we should go back to 80 dirhams instead of 150. I mean, say no to inflation. Say yes to Duetflation. Overall though, look at this. I can't find cool photos of Erebuni Mall. It's literally a white block. Next thing we have on our list is ROSSIA Mall, which is, I think, B tier. Honestly, one of the weirdest malls I've ever seen. Never explored it well because ժամանակ չկար, but also the iconic spawn point of mine. Me and my friends would go there and lervasnel back in the day. What makes this mall weird is that you basically move around using escalators. I mean, it's still something, you're moving, you're exploring, but it's a bit off, especially because this place was a theater once. Visually though, it looks pretty decent. And also there's this one banger place near the mall called Simba Pizza, which I unironically named Sigma Pizza for some reason. Good memories. And about Nivas and Khartoums, it's also a literal Khartoum spawn point. I mean, Nivas are here 24/7. I even heard one of those Nivas blasting Dolya Varovskaya, which I gotta say is peak Caucasus experience. Also, as we move with the malls and all, we find ourselves at Rio Mall, which is basically A tier. This was once the fridge factory of Armenia. It produced banger fridges like, Aragats, which now are pretty irrelevant. Regardless, this is a small mall but a banger one for its kind. I mean, it's beautifully cramped in the best way possible. The theater, the playground, the banger food court, and a lot of cool stores. But I gotta say that there's something off about this mall because there's a lot of Russian brands that I don't really know, like, what is Stvayo? Mine? Meh. Or ours. I mean, there's a cafe here too. I used to go there sometimes when I had to do work with my laptop because, designer shenanigans, designer tasovkik. There was once a giveaway here where I took part in, and I gotta say this, I was super close to winning a car there, and the host had to mess it up. I almost got myself an electric car from a Chinese no-name company that I barely remember, but I still had the Vaspuric then. A literal beauty. There's also this one mall named Megamall, which is basically A tier and B tier at the same time. I was once lost in this mall because of how big it is. Overall, it's pretty decent, but it's hella big. Like, I remember entering the mall from one place and exiting it from another. Damn, nothing much. I do know that this mall definitely put Massiv on the map. Just like each block in Massiv is massive, so is the mall. And us Armenians, we love big things. Big malls, big cars, big portions of food, because the more the merrier, right? There are some other, irrelevant malls here too. Like there's the Homplex Hypermall, which is basically D tier. Like, imagine building a massive mall in a place where almost no one lives. I mean, it's a good place for expos, and honestly, it feels like the Armenian Home Depot at this point. Never been there, but I do know that there are big construction guys that are going there to show stuff. There's also Garage Mall, which I gotta put in C tier because Garage Mall is basically irrelevant too. I mean, I've never visited it, nor had the urge to visit it. I mean, it's also a Home Depot too, in a way, which kind of makes sense why I didn't visit, because I visit a lot of cool malls in Armenia. But hey, if I'm wrong about, Garage Mall, let me know. I mean, never been there. It's just, it's just there. Slightly away from Yerevan, in the city of Abovyan, there's this one mall known as the Magic Mall, owned by this guy right here, who I think is one of the richest men in Armenia. This guy literally builds a huge Jesus Christ statue on top of Hatis. And sometimes, I ask this question to myself, when will this statue ever be finished? I mean, it's always on the news that, this is going to be the biggest statue of Jesus Christ in Armenia, but I don't know when this is going to be finished. I swear, whatever this guy owns is unironically named Multi. I mean, there's Multi Wellness Center, Multi Magic Mall, there's also Multi Taxi and freaking Palani Galuch. The list can go basically over and over. There's nothing much about malls too now, because I think I covered most of them, but there's also this thing known as dwarf malls, or small shopping centers that, not small enough to be considered a budka and not big enough to be considered a mall. It's like somewhere in between. Like dwarf planets, but for malls. Like there's the Tashir shopping center, which for the sake of nostalgia, I'm gonna put it into B tier because I used to own a big collection of metallic cars. There's also the Yerevan Tonavachar near Kayaran, where the infamous Ardishop is located. I swear the guy who runs Ardishop is basically the Armenian Wolf of Wall Street. Or more precise, if Wolf of Wall Street and Saul Goodman were mashed into one person, he would be the Ardishop guy. Bro is the ultimate giga chat, not just visually, but in linguistically as well, because he speaks a lot of languages. And rare ones too, like Yazdi and Assyrian. There's also the Metronome underground mall-like concoction, which I think is kind of like C tier, because it's too cramped in my opinion. Plus, there's some shady stuff happening in those bathrooms. No comment. All in all though, it's pretty good. I mean, they occasionally have movie nights there. There are also some other places too, like it's not a mall by design, but it feels like a mall because it's like a platform for many to, go and, buy stuff. There is the Gnuni or GUM Bazaar in Yerevan, which is, as the name says, it's a bazaar. You can find some OG Armenian sweets there, dried fruits and whatnot. For the sake of authenticity, I need to put this into B tier because it feels like you're entering a different world in a way. Also, there you can't bear the smell of fish. And I gotta say this, it's a canon event to visit GUM Bazaar or Gnuni Shuka once in your life. There was also the Surmalu Shuka, which as far as I know, had a tragic event. Basically, something big exploded there. And from that time on, I don't know if this place still functions. And if it does, it would be a decent place in a way. It's a B tier too, in a way, Also, an honorable mention, we can't forget about the OG Vernissage. This is an instant S tier. And I'd say this is one of those places that no matter how many tourists this place receives, it will and always will be underrated. Because one day you might find a villager selling you the OG papak for 14,000 dirhams, and the other day you might find Armenian cigarettes from the Soviet Union that are still untouched, or some other unique, crazy, antique shit. Sometimes though, and I feel like it's sad too, that much of our industrial potential was sacrificed for the epitome of capitalism. Because, when the Soviet Union fell, oligarchs were too quick to buy up factories. Some abandoned them, some turned them into malls. I guess it's better to use those places as malls than being classified as a zabroshka, right? An abandoned area, basically. Regardless, this is it, Ahbernejan. Malls and dwarf malls alongside bazaars is a small DLC bonus for y'all. Also, an update, I ordered the last piece for my Persona 2, so you're gonna see him pop up very soon. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video too. Make sure to smash that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next videos. Who knows, maybe my Persona will be greeting y'all. Anyway, davайте ախպեներջան, ես հելա։
Չմոռանանք, որ միշտ կա մի մարդ, որ չի ուզում մեր լավը։
Իսկ ով չի ուզում մեր լավը։
Ով է նա, մի աղջիկանում աշխեն, ծով է նա, քանզի սիրում է